The mythical account of how humans and non-humans swap properties is questioned in the work of Bruno Latour. This idea is expressed in the term symmetry, which is applied to the blurring of the boundaries between human and non-human, between the human subject and the non-human object. In order to demystify this myth, Latour suggests another mythical kind of thinking to replace it. What Latour dismisses is the idea of humans and non-humans being separate entities, but rather that they are so intertwined they can only be considered as one thing. Without the human interaction with the non-human, we are limited to only our ability to communicate in a specific place and time. However, if we allow an interaction with the object, let's consider for example a handwritten letter, immediately we can communicate without the hindrance of space and time, by interacting with the pen and paper and the desired receiver interacting with the object in a similar manner by reading it. The extent that humans are indistinguishable from non-humans is evident when looking around our physical environments. The bicycle is a functionless object without the human, but the human is not a very effective commuter without the object, the bicycle. When looking for the clues of the human in the object world, the built environment of the University of Pretoria, the human impact on the physical environment is clear, not only because these buildings exist, but by the clear interaction we have with them. To objectify this argument, we looked for people, in a literal sense, on buildings. The human in the non-human environment is clear, even while documenting without any humans in the view of the lens. Like the letter, our human interaction with the built environment is not hindered by space or time. The examples are numerous. The two cannot be separated, so much so that in fact they depend on each other. It's a back and forward. The humans define the object, but the properties of the object allow itself to be defined. So without that object, or at least the properties of that object, the tasks that the human can now do could not have been done before. Let's consider this in the more complex scientific argument. It was largely understood that scientific work states that the subject studies the object. However, with the thought of Latour of integrating the two, the humans become subjects to the object. If modern man looks at the star, we do not understand galaxies any better than that of early man. Instead, we have objects like microscopes, cameras, computers, and printers that allow us to see a simplified, more understandable version of the universe. In the same manner, an architect's constant engagement with the environment allows an architect to design not only a hut, but a complex building involving different technologies and sciences. In this manner, the architect has a curious ability to shape the environment that shapes them. In other words, whatever we make physical makes us. When designing, the architect needs to think about designing for the human, but essentially can only design with objects, the mortar, the concrete, and the bricks that make the building for the human. If we then consider the current designed physical environment, the non-human's ability to impact the human, then how is this physical impact shaping the human, and specifically the architect, who is to create the future non-human? Grasping this understanding makes Latour's initial observation that the two cannot be separate quite clear. The burning question for architects in the city of Pretoria considers the way forward out of a complex history. How has the socio-political landscape of the past century, which has molded non-humans and objects in the physical environment, significantly impacting on the designers of today? And then how should we design architecture going forward? How can we mold Pretoria to best mold the society of Pretoria?